Hi, this is Ms. Welts, and I'm going to hopefully be able to record this screencast for Vocab 1, Chapter 7. Today's objective, students will discuss challenges and accomplishments. I know y'all are going to make fun of me for not having typos. Okay, accomplishments in Spanish. What are some challenges that face the people of the Andes region is your essential question. Make sure you're filling out your Cornell note paper. Upcoming projects, you have a Chapter 7 project. It's going to be due November 20th. I'll just explain it in a minute. And you have a Don Quixote. You're going to read your first novel, and it's due right before we go out on Christmas break. So this is something that you can be working on when you get a free minute. And for those of you who like to jump ahead, this will give you something to do other than pester me about not having enough work to do. Your homework is going to be Vocab List 1 and 2, page 315, and it is due November 5th. And that's the day we come back from fall break. And also page 73 to 75 workbook is due November 5th, which is the day we come back from fall break. Moving right along, Chapter 7, skills. These are all your skills if you would like to read through them. Basically, we are moving along grammatically and vocabulary-wise. You just finished your Andes project with all of your translations and making your big PowerPoint. So I will be putting that together, and you'll be able to do your Heyo Cultura worksheet as soon as I get that all done, which would probably be when we get back from break. First of all, let's talk about the Don Quixote project. It is a novel that is a dual language novel. So on one side of the book, there's the English, and on the other side of the book, other side of the page rather, there's the English version. So it's half English, half Spanish, and so that should be easier for y'all to read. But this is our semester 1 novel. We will read a second novel second semester. But the way I'm working this particular project is in Google Docs, and I already have added Grayson and I believe Wyatt to this. But the rest of you haven't submitted anything through Google Docs, so it's kind of hard for me to add you to a document. You can look in Edmodo for the hyperlink, which will link you right into it. But this is how you do it. You start to read and you answer the questions. You end up answering every 8th question. So if Miguel has question 1, Alex has question 2, Gabby has question 3, Chris has question 4, Grayson has 5, Ariana has 6. Then it'll rotate back again. Oh, I forgot Wyatt has 7. Then Miguel will have 8. So you end up answering every 8 questions. And you can see I've labeled the first few of them. But you kind of have to read the whole novel to be able to answer some of them. So there are like 188 questions, I think, in total. So that's giving you about 26 or 27 questions apiece. And no, once I stopped labeling, you can't just start answering from there and say, oop, I did 27. No, you have to do every 8th question. Because you're doing it in Google Docs, you'll be able to read it real time. So if somebody's working on a first period and they save their work, see that little... it saves automatically. Anyway, once they save their work, you'll be able to read where they are in the novel and say, hey, I'm falling behind. So it kind of keeps you on track. Next is the Chapter 7 project. It is due November 20th, which is the day before Thanksgiving break. First of all, this is a 2-part project. One is making a video and the other one is writing an essay. The first part is making a video for a job fair. Emphasize the reasons careers in your particular field are interesting and rewarding, as well as explain how the knowledge of Spanish might be useful in your chosen career. If you were to go to a career fair, you would see little booths set up, kind of like you did when you went to the college fair, and each one of the little booths would have some sort of video explaining what the company does while said person from company is talking to somebody. But you need to choose a company you'd like to work for. If you're going to be a nurse, pick a hospital. If you're going to be a lawyer, pick a lawyer's office. If you're going to be a airplane guy, choose Boeing or something. Research the job you'd like to have. Now, granted, you could make this up, really, and if you could say you want to be a teacher, and that would make it super easy, but that's kind of fibbing and stretching it for some of y'all. But research the job you'd like to have. Look and see what kind of education you need for it, how much money you could possibly make in that career field, job requirements, and write yourself a script. Plan your camera angles and transitions. If you're using iMovie, like I know Grayson's going to use iMovie because he's got it on his iPad. There are really cool transitions already built into there. to do this sort of a project. If you're using Microsoft Movie Maker, that's also fine. Like if you're having to borrow my flip camera or whatever, just make sure you give me plenty of time before November 20th to change all of your little short clips of things into a you have to change them from AVI to MOV files, and that's going to take me a minute. And obviously, I'm a very, very busy person, so I'm going to need at least a week in order to do all that for you. You may want to go on location to shoot your video. However, like I know, for example, Beaufort Memorial Hospital, they don't want sick people on camera, so I don't want you going to the hospital and getting arrested because you're filming illegally. Contact the people where you're going and say, hey, is it okay if I shoot a video for school about why I want to be working at this place, and get permission. Remember professional dress. It depends, I guess, on where you're going to go work. If you're going to go work in a hospital, sure, you can wear scrubs. If you are going to be a teacher, you cannot wear flip-flops and shorts and a t-shirt, especially the one that says Battery Creek Soccer on it. Hint, hint. Remember to dress like how you would for that particular profession. You're acting like you already work there. Anyway, that video, I would say anywhere from 2 to 5 minutes tops. It doesn't need to be anything huge, but make sure you include all the requirements. Here, writing a report in Spanish is about 400 words. Turn it in on Google Docs. Google Docs, Google Docs. If y'all can't start doing this, we're going to have serious problems. You need to create a Google Docs account. If you're having problems doing that, please see me, and I will make sure that you are able to get on Google Docs. Explain the nature of your work considering the following. What will you have to do in that job field? Okay, so if I'm going to be a ditch digger, what do I need to be able to do? Is there room to move up? Well, if I start off at base level ditch digging, I could be the supreme grandmaster of all ditch digging within 5 years. Where would you start? And ideally, where would you finish? So I would start off digging ditches and end up owning the ditch digging company. How much money would you make? I start off making $12 an hour and end up making $2 bajillion an hour. That'd be great. But make sure you get factual information. Explain why that career field interests you. Now, I know some of you guys don't know what you want to be when you grow up, and that's cool. You can lie. It's all right. But why does that career field interest you? Who are some inspirational people in that field? So I really want to be a garbage dude. Well, Jerome the garbage dude is my inspiration, so I'm going to go after him. Really famous. I want to be a president, so I'm going to really look up to Barack Obama. I want to be just like him. So how has he impacted that field? What are some fields? What are some of the greatest accomplishments? Well, I want to be a cancer researcher, and this person invented this drug, and yeah, that sort of thing. What are some personal reasons you're attracted to that field? I really want to save people from roller coaster accidents, so I want to be an engineer. Explain the goals you would pursue through your work. Think of the following when writing. What would be your highest level of education? Like, you could be a PhD and be a principal. Would you use Spanish in your career? Now, guys, I realize that not all of you are going to use Spanish in your career, but could you please humor me and lie a little bit? How would you use it? Would you travel the world, and where would you go? And is there a specific award that you would want to win? All right. Now let's start on the bell work. Bell work 7.1 says complete the sentences with the correct form of the verbs in parentheses. You're going to go ahead and write all these sentences out and figure out if you're supposed to use the indicative or the subjunctive in these sentences. I will give you a few seconds. Go ahead and pause the video. All right, now that you have finished doing this, the first one, el profesor anunció que nosotros íbamos. So here we are going to use an indicative verb, but we're going to use the imperfect. The professor announced that we were going to have a test today. Me frustra que él dé. Alright, so we're going to use the subjunctive here. It frustrates me that he gives so many tests. It's impossible that he blank the test. He finishes the test. Well, haya terminado. This one's using the present perfect. No, present perfect subjunctive. There's a ya right here. You can't really see it. But haya terminado. It's impossible that he has finished the test. I believe that I can pass it. That's regular old present tense. Because it's a belief, that means it's indicative. The professor says that the test era long and difficult. The professor said that the test was long and difficult. All right, the next activity is a translation activity. If you look on your Cornell note paper, which is not that one, it's this one. Up at the top of your Cornell note paper, we did this bell work, and now we're going to translate. I hope you filled out your objective and your essential question, by the way. But in Peru, there exist many ethnic groups. Each group has its own way of being, and each one makes a contribution to society. Everyone contributes their ideas, experiences, and customs and talents to the rich and varied culture of Peru. So we want to make sure that when you go in, like when we said ethnic groups, you want to make sure you highlight that and way of being. And anything that's bolded on your paper, you want to make sure that you give me the translation of that highlighted. Yes, you need to translate the whole line, but I want those words in particular bolded because they are vocabulary words. Next. All right, when they arrived in this country, when they arrived in this country, the dream of my grandparents was to open a restaurant, and finally they reached it. My heritage is a something to brag about. Orgullo. Let me check that one. Proud. Yeah, pride for me. And the restaurant can maintain some of the traditions of our country of origin. Again, make sure we go in and highlight those words when we translate them into English. I am of Quechua descendants. My ancestors lived in the Andes, but my parents came to the city when I was young. I'm very proud for all the sacrifices that they had in leaving their home and aprovechar. Take advantage of. Oh, I want to take advantage of the opportunities I have here. Okay. Crier. I don't know that word either. I guess I should have studied before I started filming. To grow up in. Okay, I grew up in a town in the Andes. Oh, that makes sense. When I was 12 years old, my dad had to look for work in a city, and he moved us to Lima. It was difficult to assimilate that style of life in the city, and sometimes I felt like... Oh, there's another one I don't know. N-C. Fit in. Oh, read the whole sentence. And didn't fit into any group. But now I have new friends in the university, and I feel that I belong to a group. I live in a town in the Andes, and I speak Quechua. When I came to the city to sell my products, it was difficult in the beginning to express myself in Spanish. Sometimes the people discriminated against the different ethnic groups because they did not understand them. Now we're going to move into page 280, activity 2. It says, determine which word or phrase does not belong to the group and explain why it doesn't belong. In Spanish. So the model says discriminate, to get accustomed to, and assimilate. Discriminate doesn't belong because to get accustomed to and assimilate describe how a person adapts in a place. Okay, and number 1. This is on page 280. Well, number 1. Desafío, origen, and raíces. Desafío is a challenge. Origen is origin. And raíces are roots. So the one that's not going to belong is desafío. Desafío doesn't belong. And I will give you a second to write your sentence as to why. Okay, and number 2, we have alcanzar metas, tener éxito en criarse en. Alcanzar, to reach, metas, goals, to have success, and to grow up in. Obviously, grow up in doesn't belong. I will give you a reason, or I will wait for you to write your reason. So pause. Aporte is a contribution, contribuir is to contribute, and discriminar is to discriminate. So to discriminate doesn't belong. Go ahead and pause. Ascendencia. El sacrificio. And antepasados. So descendants, ancestors, sacrifice. It's going to be sacrifice. Estilo de vida, modo de ser. Grupo étnico, style of life, way of life. Modo de ser is a way of being. And grupo étnico is an ethnic group, so ethnic group doesn't belong. Encajar en, to fit in. Estar agradecido por, to be thankful. Yeah, gracias. To be thankful for and to belong to. To be thankful for doesn't belong. And go ahead and write your reason why. Next, page 280, activity 3. It says, read the comments and answer the questions. Javier Bravo says, I am of Peruvian descendants. I am very proud of my cultural heritage, and I like to share the traditions and customs of my family. I am very proud of the sacrifices of my parents, and I want to be a contributor to the society also. For this reason, I found work as a professor. Susana Vera says, for me, a great, good Lord, I should have studied. Desafío. Challenge. A great challenge of changing schools. It was a great challenge to change schools in the last year. I didn't know anybody, and I felt like I didn't fit in with any group. I spoke with a counselor of my school, and he helped me a lot. For example, he encouraged me to join, inscribirme, take part in a theater club, because I love drama. Okay. Now I feel like I belong to a group. So in number 1, it says, where are Javier's ancestors from? They are from Peru. De Peru. Number 2, how does Javier feel about his cultural heritage? He feels orgulloso, proud. What does Javier do to contribute to society? He works as a professor. Trabaja como profesor. Why was it difficult for Susana to adapt to a new school? 4, she felt like she didn't belong to any group. Sentía que no encajaba en ningún grupo. 5, who helped Susana and what did they do? The consejero del colegio, the counselor, helped her because he le animó a inscribir en un club de teatro. Helped her to join encouraged her to join a theater club. And number 6, how does Susana feel now and why? She feels contenta. She feels happy. I don't know where it says that, but she does. She has friends in a drama club, so tiene amigos en un club de drama. Next up, page 281, activity 6. This is an opinion activity. There are no real right or wrong answers. It says, en nuestro país, la gente discrimina a los diferentes grupos étnicos. In our country, the people discriminate against different ethnic groups. So you write either you agree, estoy de acuerdo, or no estoy de acuerdo with that sentence. To be successful in our society, you have to be rich. Todas las personas que viven en Estados Unidos deben saber expresarse en inglés. All people that live in the United States should know how to express themselves in English. Los padres siempre deben apoyar a sus hijos y hacer sacrificios por ellos. The parents should always support their children and make sacrifices for them. It's the responsibility of the kids. It is the responsibility of the children, adults maintain young adults maintain their. That doesn't make any sense. Maintain their. I don't know. It's the responsibility of young adults to maintain their parents. Maybe take care of them when they get old. I don't have a clue what that one's supposed to be. It's difficult to be a friend of someone that is not of my ethnic group. Okay. Moving along. This is a reading activity that you need to do. So you need to read this. in order to answer the activity that we're going to do in a moment. So, dear Maita, well, how good it was that you came to live in Cusco. You asked me why I came and how I had success here. Well, I will tell you my story. In my home country, Emma, what are you doing? Go away. I am recording right now. All right. In my country, there were challenges. It was difficult to find a job, and there were not a lot of opportunities for my brothers and sisters and for me. For this reason, my parents decided to move to Cusco, but it wasn't easy. It cost work. We had to work to adapt ourselves. Goodness. When I arrived here, I did not know how to express myself in Spanish because in my town, they only spoke Quechua. My dad did not have a job, and my mom was not accustomed to a small apartment. But little by little, we adapted into our new home. My dad reached his dream of being a professor, and my mom found a work in a restaurant. They worked hard and finally were able to buy a bigger house. With time, they could learn Spanish, and I made good grades in the university. I remember the day in which Emma, I said to go on. I was able to graduate. I am really proud for the support of my parents and my professors. Now I work as a lawyer. My family has done many sacrifices, but we have been able to overcome all of the obstacles. I am sure that you also were able to assimilate to the style of life here. You have to have a great effort, and I support you in everything. With love, Felipe. So what happened first? So you have to put these in order. You have to translate them into English and then put them in order. Go ahead and pause the video to do that. Alright, the correct order should be sentence 3 should come first. So the family of Felipe faced difficulties in his home country, or native country, from his childhood. Then sentence 7. The family of Felipe moved to Cusco. Then 5. Felipe was not able to express himself in Spanish. Then 4. The dad of Felipe was able to find a job as a teacher. Then number 6. The family moved to a bigger house. Then number 1. Felipe was able to graduate from the university. And number 2. Felipe worked as a lawyer. Alright, the next thing you're supposed to go into the Quizlet link for Edmodo, this in Edmodo for the chapter 7.1 and play Scatter and Space Race. So go ahead and pause and do that. That's the link right there. Alright, now that you have done that, it is time to do our Vocabulario 1 worksheet. Remember, there are 1, 2, 3, 4 activities that you need to complete. I will do the first one out of each section with you, and that is it. You have to do the rest yourself. It says read the statements, decide what the speaker is talking about, and write A for desafío, which is a challenge, and then B for éxito, which is a success. I had to face many obstacles when I moved to another city. If I had to face many obstacles, that is a challenge, so that is A. Yay! Alright, so you're going to do the rest of those that way. Remember, A for a challenge, B for success. And activity B, complete the following statements with the correct phrase. Emilio is a Quechua descendant, a blank from Peru. That is an ethnic group. So it's A. In activity C, it says fill in each blank with the correct form of a word or phrase from the box. So, was discriminated, was able to fit in, they fit in. To grow up in, I grew up in, and I made a great effort. It took a lot of effort. Hi, my name's Samuel. My parents are Dominican, but I blank in a poor neighborhood of New York. I grew up in Me crié. Alright, and in activity D, activity D says imagine that you're preparing for an interview with Senora Paredes. Write the question you would ask to find out if she is of Latino descent. Well, I am pretty sure if you look on page Oh, I lied. It's not even in here. Okay, well, that's alright. We'll figure it out. If she is of Latino descent. So we'll say eres. Let me get some sort of typing utensil. You need an upside down question mark, and I'm too lazy to put it in. So just remember upside down question mark. So eres de descendencia or ascendencia. I don't know how to spell that word. A-S, I think. A-S-C-E-N. Latina? There should be a question mark at the beginning. Alright, but we have to finish asking questions all the way down. So how have we addressed the standards? We have used visuals in support, yeah, because we looked at those pictures. Exchanging information on topics, we have done that in some of our activities. Excuse me. Express preferences, opinions, we did that. Communicate information on paragraph length, you will do that when you start on your homework. Locate modern language, you will do that when you start on your homework. And you will do this last one when you start on your homework. Finally, closure. Write the summary on your Cornell Notes page, and you can do one of the following. You can start reading Don Quixote and answer the questions on Google Docs, or you can work on your Chapter 7 project, or you can work on your homework. And your homework is Vocab List 1 and 2 on page 315, and it's due November 5th, or page 70, well, not or, and page 73 through 75 in your workbook due November 5th. If you have any questions, please ask me.